Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Non Sequitur Nerds. Join us tonight as we look at the year past and prepare for a new year coming up. As always, though, I'm Tim, joined by my buddy Ian. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, things are going pretty well. We're getting ready to wrap up the new year, wrap up the old year, counting down to the new year, where they will drop the ball in New York and maybe.
It's true, they might.
So
they might drop finally. I'll be a real boy.
You're married. They're gone.
It's true.
2022 was a kind of a good year for games. We had a lot of really good and interesting titles come out. We talked briefly about the Game Awards last time. So we had Ragnarok, Elden Ring, Stray.
Stray was so
Plague
good.
Tale. A bunch of really good games that came out this past year that, in all reality, we haven't had time to play them all.
Yeah.
In fact, Tim and I were looking at the list because we were going to talk about like the games that came out this year. We're like, I've really not played any of these. So,
like I think between the two of us, I mean, we've mainly been playing Final Fantasy 14, which is, I mean, an older game, but they won Best Community Support and Best Ongoing Game, like we had talked about. So we're still playing a critically acclaimed game. Apart from that, I recently started playing Crisis Core Reunion, and I've been playing Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, to no one's surprise. Two games which I am thoroughly enjoying. But it's been a busy year for gaming, busy year for both of us in our personal lives, between kids, school, events, work, starting new work. In my case, it's been a busy year. But I mean, we would be neglectful in our duties as nerds to not at least talk about some of the stuff that has came out, as well as talk about things that we're looking forward to next year that we will inevitably not have time to play again. But we can wish.
Yeah, I mean, if we look back towards the beginning of the year, I mentioned Elden Ring came out. That was, obviously Game of the Year, big blockbuster smash from Software. There was a few other things that came out this year. The next gen versions of Cyberpunk on the PS5, Xbox Series S and X. One of my favorite games that I played for a long time, I just haven't picked it up in a while. Destiny 2 had their big expansion this past year, The Witch, which I heard was actually fairly good. They're gearing up for their next one here starting in next. And then we had kind of an unsung game that, from what I've heard, everybody liked it. It just didn't really get a whole lot of fanfare. It was Lost Ark.
I had heard that as well. I mean, it looked interesting, but people seemed to like it. But yeah, like Ian said, it kind of just showed up and then left quietly.
Yeah, I believe that one was from Amazon Studios, Amazon Game Studios, if I remember correctly. And if I'm wrong on that, then I apologize. Correct me in the comments.
Right.
Another really big one that gets his own. I think it's actually slated to get its own true spin-off game is Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
Yeah,
the Borderlands series.
Well, that was the spin-off, because originally it was a DLC for Borderlands 3. And then it got its own full-fledged game, which they expanded on a lot. Like, I played the demo of it. Or not a demo. I watched some gameplay of it, excuse me. And, that looks, for me, liking Borderlands and liking tabletop games, that looked right up my alley. But again, it's one that I haven't had time to play.
That's one of those games that Borderlands has always been fun.
Yes.
But it's one of those games that I feel like I would really, truly enjoy it if I was playing with somebody else.
Exactly, yeah. And since I haven't picked it up, he hasn't picked it up, and vice versa.
I actually do own it.
But which Borderlands? Maybe we should see if our Twitch channel's still active.
Right. I do own Borderlands 3. I just haven't played it.
I think I have it as well on PC. Same thing, haven't played it. But I mean, that's kind of to segue, that's kind of one of the downsides of being, adult gamers with children, is we don't always have the time to play these things that we think we might own.
Right. And especially with services like Game Pass and Games with Gold and, PS Plus and all that stuff, they give you free games every month. It just sits in your library. It's like, oh, cool, play this thing. I'm never going to play it.
Well, I had started.
I own it. It's in my library.
Yep.
I'm literally just never going to pick it up.
Well, it's like I had, through PlayStation's PS Plus service, I had started, I had downloaded one of the Chocobo Mystery Dungeon games, because they'd always looked interesting to me, and that's one of the Final Fantasy, exactly, that's one of the Final Fantasy games that I've never really put much time into. I've never played a single Mystery Dungeon, and I'm like, this is actually kind of fun. I mean, it's very simplistic compared to other Final Fantasy games, but I think that's the draw of it. It is a simplistic game. But I liked it. I mean, the music was good. You know, it's graphics. It's a cute game. Like literally, it's a cute game. So,
Right.
but
One of the things that came out this past year was the Monster Hunter Rise. It actually came out last year, but they expanded it to PC. And then Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreeze came out. But I'm actually looking forward to that because it's going to be coming to Game Pass in early 2023. So it's one of those games that I really loved. Monster Hunter World. I spent a lot of time playing that game. And while Rise kind of goes back to traditional, less open world style.
Yeah.
It does seem interesting, does seem fun, so I'm kind of free.
There you go.
Pass.
Well, I mean, that's the good thing about these subscription services that like everybody's offering now is if you don't like a game you download or even stream it, you're not out anything. You've already paid for the subscription. You still have several hundred other games you can pick from.
Right, exactly.
Which I will say, like, admittedly, like, these services have saved me a crap ton of money because, like, I can't... Rise of the Ghost Lords, which I bought digitally, and then Crisis Core. I haven't bought a game before those two in months. So, I mean, these services have saved me a metric crap ton of money.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, you and I played, we, for a little while, we were playing Power Wash Simulator. It was
Yes,
like
yes.
mindless. It was just like mindless catharsis.
Yes, it was.
Like, for a game. Like, you'd literally just walk around with a power washer. So it tickles that lizard part of your brain.
Yes, it did.
Makes it oh so satisfying.
Yes, it did.
It's on Game Pass. We play it for free.
Yeah. And that was a game that, like, I had watched a few other YouTubers play it. And I'm like, that's really fun to watch, but I'm like, I will never buy that game. And then it came to Game Pass. I'm like, so it's free. Yeah, I guess I'm going to get it.
Yeah. There were some other things that came out this year too. Not to say too much on 2022 because we do want to look forward to 2023. Overwatch 2 came out, much to nothing.
I was going to say very little fan. Like, I think I watched you, like, dink around on it for maybe 10 minutes when I was down there last. And beyond that, like, it came out, there was a lot of controversy about the way that they were doing or not doing things. And then, like, beyond that, I haven't heard anything about it since that. And that's been, like, what, 3 months ago now, almost?
Yeah, I think it came out early October.
Yeah.
I think the big problem with Overwatch 2, and again, not to linger too much on the stuff, current and past stuff, is I think Overwatch 2 is largely overshadowed by all of the bull crap that's going on in Activision Blizzard lawsuits and terrible working conditions. And I mean, it also was just like, it originally promised to change a lot of the way the game works, some of the paradigms of the whole genre, and it just didn't. It just kind of...
Well, like, when I
same stuff, different day.
Like, when I was watching you play it, like, it looked exactly the same to me.
Admittedly, I wasn't playing in matches. I was just playing in like
the training area. But like, still, I mean, like, it just everything seemed the same to me. I mean, I guess, like, well, I mean, then again, Call of Duty's been doing that for years, and people still buy it every year. So maybe they thought, let's try it with Overwatch.
I mean, Madden, FIFA, MLB, like all of the sports games, it's literally the same thing every year.
Yep. Tweak a few things here and there, update the team rosters, and slap a new number on it.
Right. And so, but anyway, so the 2022 is kind of rounding down. We did see some new games that came out that are really interesting to me. Probably eventually going to pick up the new Pokemon game. Hopefully they'll fix it.
Well, like, I guess Nintendo's been, like, really listening, and they've already put out a couple of quality of life patches for it and fixed a few things. But that's one that I was going to get, and then I'm like, you know what? No, I'll hold off for now, and I'm kind of glad I did, just because of, like, so many reports saying, it doesn't even run on the Switch. The system is designed for.
Right.
So I'm kind of glad I held off on that, but, like, I'm hearing a lot of good things about if you look past the bugs. And admittedly, like, I did the same thing with Cyberpunk. I got Cyberpunk, and I was able to look past the bugs because the game itself was enjoyable. And I'm still debating on Pokemon. I may wait on, mostly because I'm not playing anything else.
Right. Well, I mean, Pokemon is always one of those games. It's because it's for a handheld device. It was always one of those things that I could just, like, lay in bed with the TV in the background.
Exactly.
Play Pokemon for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes or something like that, and then go.
Exactly.
But anyway, then, we also had Sonic Frontiers, which came out, which, we've had some friends that have played it and really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's kind of short, but relatively speaking. But hopefully we'll see some DLC and some stuff like that.
Well, saying that they have announced new stuff, and apparently, from what I was reading, if I'm remembering correctly, their DLC is all going to be free. I'm noticing that a lot more games are starting to do that now. They're starting to, and it's not like non-substantial DLC. Like for Sonic, it's like new characters, new story, new challenge modes, I think. So I mean, it's stuff it's pretty substantial that they're just going to give anybody that bought the game. So
right, yeah. So kind of interested to see where things go. And again, if we look forward now to 2023, there's a bunch of games that are on the horizon for next year that I'm really looking to. It's just going to be a question of finding time to
exactly.
play them. The new Dead Space is coming out in January.
Yes.
So the remake, or not reboot.
Yep.
It's a reboot of the series. Never played the originals because horror games just, like murder me. But I have watched plenty of like YouTube videos, stuff like that.
See, like Dead Space, like I normally don't get into horror games as well. Like I like watching them, but they just to play it, I don't really enjoy them. Like not because it's like too spooky. It's just I've just never really liked them. Dead Space is one that like I played that game, the first one anyway. I played start to finish. Absolutely loved it.
Right. So yeah, that comes out in January. So kind of looking forward to that. Then there's for me anyway, there's Wild Hearts. If you've heard of that one, it's basically it's Fortnite meets Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Like, you actually sent me a video on that one when they announced it.
Yeah, you build stuff, like you build things to defeat monsters or kaiju. I think they call them kaiju in that game.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it looks really interesting.
It really does.
And then there's also Destiny 2's next expansion, which I talked about earlier, Lightfall. Again, I haven't played the games, but I have kept up with it because it does have an interesting lore system. It does have interesting and kind of the sci-fi elements that I do enjoy. So it's got a decent story to it. So definitely look at that. But anything on your list that comes out here towards?
Well, I don't know the release date of it off the top of my head. But I know two that I'm for sure looking forward to. The first one is going to be the new Armored Core, just because that looks really cool. And then one that I know is late next year, I've still got about a whole year wait almost, is Final Fantasy Remake Part 2.
I believe it's Rebirth. It's called Rebirth, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it hasn't been, yes, you're correct. It hasn't been given a date yet, although it has been announced.
Yep.
So I should probably actually sit down and get through the first one.
It's like, I'm excited. Are we out of the statute of limitations on spoilers right now?
FYI, this episode will contain spoilers for some of our favorite content because it's our podcast, and fair warning. So you've got exactly 5 seconds before we start slinging spoilers.
Boop, boop, boop. Time up.
You've been warned. Here comes the spoilers.
Okay, with and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it for you since you haven't gone through it yet, but
I was at your house when your wife finished the game.
That's right. With the things that they changed on it so far in the story, I am very interested to see where they go with this. That's part of the reason that I picked up Crisis Core. One, because I absolutely loved Crisis Core on the PSP when it came out years ago. But two, they said that yes, this is directly tied into the remake. So I'm interested in playing through that just to see like what little backstory nuggets they give us that might drop hints about where they're taking Rebirth. It's going to be interesting because, I mean, so far it is not exactly the same as what things used to be. So if you haven't played it yet and you're a fan of Final Fantasy or 7, the original, absolutely play Remake before Rebirth comes out. And pick up Crisis Core because it's fun and it's part of the official 7 saga. So. Right. But yeah, those are the two that immediately come to mind for next year. Armored Core, like I used to play that on PC back in the day, like the earlier ones, and oh my god, those games were always so much fun.
And I've always liked giant robots. A little bit about that. We did talk a little bit about that game during our Game Awards episode. Crisis Core is being developed. Armored Core.
Too many cores.
Too many cores, yes. Armored Core is being developed by From Software in conjunction with Bandai Namco, and From Software just won Game of the Year for Elden Ring, so I'm actually kind of excited about it. Now, granted, I'm not a big fan of like the Souls types of games, mostly because I just don't want to get pissed off all the time while playing a video.
You're already pissed off all the time. You don't need a game to help you.
Exactly. I'm Irish. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I'm kind of hoping they stick with the more traditional Armored Core format and not like some of the crazy, just murderous content that they had in the Souls games. Strike a balance a little bit.
Right. Well, I mean, they obviously know how to make good games. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what route they go with. Like, I'm hoping that they go with more of a traditional Armored Core style, maybe put some of their own flair on it. Like, I hope so, because it has been so long since I've played an Armored Core that even if it is like exactly the same, just with updated graphics and controls and whatnot, I'll still be happy. But if they put, their own unique spin on it or their own unique gameplay on it, I'll still be happy either way. I mean, the only thing that's going to make me not happy is if the game just completely bombs.
Right. So there's that, but there's also coming out in March of next year, March 17th, is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So the sequel to the Jedi Fallen Order that came out this past year is just phenomenal. I honestly haven't played it yet, but
really,
I need to. Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised.
It was again, doing an MBA at the time, didn't really have a whole lot of time to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But it's on Game Pass, so I could pick it up. And I figured this one would have been in your repertoire, Tim. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection.
Yes, I completely forgot about that. Well, because that was supposed to come out this year, I think.
I'm not sure.
I think they pushed it back. But yeah, that one, I am absolutely going to pick that up when it comes out. The BattleNet series was always one of my favorite Mega Man games because it was... I like Mega Man in general. It is one of my favorite game franchises. But BattleNet just really changed it up, added a lot more of an RPG aspect to it. So, I mean, if you've played Mega Man Legends back in the day, good games, definitely check out BattleNet. That's one that, like, I had honestly kind of forgotten about that, but I've picked up all the other Mega Man Legacy collections just to have, a full collection of all the games. But yeah, that's one, like, I completely forgot about that, honestly. I feel bad. But yeah, I am absolutely picking that one up when it comes out, 100%.
Yeah, May is the month of May is probably going to be the big month for me as of right now, because that is going to see the release of the next Legend of Zelda game from Breath of the Wild series. Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep,
releases on Nintendo Switch May 12th. So I will probably be taking that week off of work. Breath of the Wild is one of my all-time favorite games. Like, it was, I've always liked the Zelda games, but when that one came out and I was able to play it, it was just immeasurable in the amount of stuff and the thought that went into that game. It's been out for 5 years now, I think, and people are still discovering hidden things in that, like stuff that they didn't know you could do, or just little nuances and things like that. So, it has incredible depth, and I really do enjoy the story of it, because it's the amalgamation of all of the different Zelda storylines finally converging back into one. Whereas Ocarina of Time saw 3 timelines split off at the end. Now you're seeing the 3 timelines converge back together. Why it's the way that it is. And it's very interesting the way they're playing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, and just all the little, like, subtle nods to past Zelda games. Like, you can find the Lon Lon Ranch from Ocarina of Time in there. And it is very much ruined because the world is ruined. Like, all the little, like, I don't want to spoil too much on that one, because that's a game that, yes, I know we're well out of the statute of limitations on that, but still, there are so many fun little nods to prior Zelda games that, like, it's nice to see that cohesiveness in the story, even though, like, all the games for the most part are very disjointed from one another. It is nice to see that cohesiveness.
Yeah, and if you are a fan of the games, I suggest you also take a look at Legend of Zelda Calamity, something Calamity. It is it's a hack and slash style, very similar to, like, the Dragon Warrior, not Dragon, Dynasty Warriors games.
Hyrule Warriors, isn't it?
Yeah, Hyrule Warriors, but this one is like Hyrule Warriors Calamity or something like that.
Okay.
It follows like the Zelda storyline, and it's an interesting spin on the whole thing, because it takes you through, like, what happened during the Calamity, and it's got some interesting twist to it. I highly suggest that anybody that likes the go check it out. And again, it's a hack and slash, like mob bait, like just destroying legions of bogoblins and stuff like that. So it's fun. Anyway, so yeah. Later on, we've also got in May coming out Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Again, we talked about this. This is going to be the final appearance of Kevin Conroy as Batman.
Yeah.
So his farewell send-off game. So kind of forward to that.
Oh, absolutely. Another one that I just thought of. It doesn't have a release date yet, but it is sometime in 2023. and this is a topic that we don't really talk a whole lot on, but coming for VR, Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord, which is one that, again, I'm looking forward to. It is a first-person VR Ghostbusters game. So it looks to have very similar to Spirits Unleashed. It does look to have a lot of customization to it, not only for your character, but for their gear, things like that. So I'm wondering if it's going to kind of be the VR equivalent to that game, which would be fun because I'm absolutely loving Spirits Unleashed. But that's one that I'm definitely looking forward to. Coming out for the Quest 2 as well as the PSVR 2. Which is it's also coming out in 2023. So.
In June, we're going to see a few releases that I think folks are going to be looking forward to. Street Fighter 6. Not really a big fighting game person, honestly, so I can't really say much about it. But that'll also,
the Street Fighter games, like I eventually like pick them up if they're on sale or whatnot. But they're never a day one purchase for me. Right. But I mean, it looks interesting. Like the new characters they showed off look neat. But I mean,
I really enjoy the stylized art style that they landed on. It really worked well for it. Like, you know, they've always been kind of, you know, cartoony and anime style, but this cell shaded stylization has really worked well.
Yes, it like if you look at a screenshot with their new graphics engine, you can immediately tell that is Street Fighter. It is a very unique style, and yeah, I agree. I think it fits perfectly with the game. And it allows those characters to still have, you know, very animated motions and facial actions, things like that, but still retain a small sense of realism.
Right.
You know, I mean, realism when you're talking a mutated giant green man that electrifies people with his body, but you know, still, they're always fun, but they're never really day one purchases, like I said.
Right. Well, we'll also see in June the release of Diablo 4, which you know, I think Diablo has a very dedicated fan base. I don't know that they have an expansive fan base, but the games continue to do well, and they continue to continue to have a good following. I've always enjoyed the Diablo style, but I've never gotten to Diablo myself.
Right.
As I love to harass Tim about, he had me buy Diablo 3. We played one time, and then he never played the game again.
Yeah.
Jackass.
Well, hey, we own it.
True.
But like, I feel bad because like Diablo is one of those games that like I'll get and I will play hardcore for like 2 or 3 months and then never touch it again. And unfortunately, Ian came in at the tail end of that.
Yep, apparently. Anyway.
But the trailer they showed off, I think at the Game Awards for that, like it looks really cool. So
yeah. I would agree. I mean, we've talked about this before, but if Blizzard does nothing else with themselves, they need to just like
because their cinematics are always so beautiful.
Yeah, their CG department and art department is just a cut and above the rest.
Oh, absolutely.
So beautiful.
Absolutely. Like, and even some of their older like CG cinematics, like Warcraft 3 era, even that still holds up really well. You know?
Yep, exactly.
So what's next on the docket?
Well, I mean, there's several things that are coming out.
Okay.
Let's see. The Warhammer is going to have a pretty big year. They've got 4 games that are coming out.
Oh, Space Marine 2.
Space Marine 2 is on that list. There's no release date for it, but I'm actually really interested in that because I did play the demo of Space Marine and I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed it.
I played the first one when I was still working at GameStop. We got a copy traded in like just a couple days afterwards, and the guy's like, I didn't know what Space Marines was, and it's just not for me. I'm like, yoink, I'm gonna buy that. And like I played through that entire story, like, and I'm not a 40K player. I don't know the lore other than there are Space Marines and Space Orcs, and the Space Marines are like the Pope army.
Chain swords.
And chain swords, yep. But like I absolutely I love the aesthetic of it. I love the gameplay in that game. So I am absolutely going to pick up Space Marine 2.
Yep, I would agree. Another one that I think we've talked about offline that kind of forgot about is The Wolf Among Us 2.
Yes.
As being developed by Telltale Games, and for those of you that are in the gaming community may remember, Telltale Games went under. But
Rip Telltale Games.
A new company actually picked them up and able to get retain some of their IP. So they did have some things that kind of went back to their original IPs.
Yep,
were able to retain Among Us so we're going to see a sequel coming out here next.
Finally. Like Wolf Among Us, and I think again you and I talked off the air about this. I was not familiar at all with the comics that was based on, but after playing that game to completion, I went out and picked up like the first 7 volumes, I think, of like the hardbound collections of it, and it is a legitimately good comic series. It's called Fables. If you get a chance, absolutely pick it up and read it. But I have been waiting for a sequel to Wolf Among Us since I finished the first one because the story was so good, the characters were engaging, and I'm excited to see where Telltale takes that next.
Yeah. Here's one for you, actually. System Shock is going to be coming out for PS4, PS5, Xbox PC. this year. So System Shock is kind of the spiritual prequel to BioShock games. It's kind of it was its own thing that released several years before we ever saw BioShock.
Yeah.
But, it was definitely kind of in that same, obviously, we talked about this during the game, but I believe the game was Judas, I think.
Yes.
Being released by the original of the BioShock series, so which looks just like BioShock in space.
I mean, it really does. Like, at first, that's what I thought was, I'm like, oh, cool, new BioShock. Oh, they're going in space? That's interesting. And no, it's a completely different game, but it looks exactly like BioShock. I'm not complaining. I love BioShock.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good one. I really, really loved that series, especially when I was in college. I mean, it came out in college,
right?
And just like sit there and play, and just had so much fun with it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, the story in all of those is always very, like, shooter games are not known for their engaging stories. This game, all the BioShock games so far have had very engaging stories, especially like Infinite. I really like the story of Infinite.
I did too. I thought the story for Infinite was just cut and above. I mean, don't get me wrong, the original BioShock was really good.
Yes.
It was very interesting, in that kind of like film noir, dystopian, almost Metropolis.
Yes.
Style, kind of feel to it. But the being able to go into Colombia where you could actually, see daylight, was nice. And the story that was crafted around it was just amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's see, what else do we got? There's a RoboCop game coming out next year.
Which
RoboCop Rogue City
is a game that I didn't expect at all. And I think you sent me a link to watch the trailer on it. And I did not expect a RoboCop game in 2023. I mean, and we're talking original RoboCop, not the reboot from a couple years ago.
Right. Maybe that's them trying to pave the way for another movie in the series.
I mean, again, you're talking to the guy that literally watched every RoboCop movie, including the made-for-TV and the TV show, just because I was bored during pandemic when everything was shut down. I'm like, I'm going to watch RoboCop. So I did. All of them in like a 3-day span.
Don't get me wrong. I love the original RoboCop. Paul Verhoeven's original RoboCop is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
So gritty, so dark, and just got some great pieces in it.
Oh yeah, it's a classic piece of 80s movies. Absolutely.
Right. Yep. But one of the big ones that's coming out next year that is Marvel Spider-Man 2 for the PS5.
Yep.
Official sequel rather than the spin-off that was Miles.
Yep.
So hopefully we'll see some new things, some new innovations in the game. I know Miles Morales was kind of just really much the same thing, if I remember correctly.
I mean, he had like some different abilities, obviously, because he does have different powers than Peter Parker does. But for the most part, it was more of the same, which I wasn't disappointed with that because I absolutely loved the first one. My biggest complaint, and we've talked about this before on the show, is it was just way too short. And I think it should have been released as a DLC for the first one, honestly.
Right.
But I mean, it was fun. It was just really short. So I'm hoping that the second one is a longer game like how the first one was. And since it is coming for the next gen, the current gen consoles at launch now, I'm hoping that they'll be able to take more advantage of the power of the newer systems.
Right. Well, I know your wife will be happy about this one. Like a Dragon Gaiden comes out next year.
I'm looking forward to that because a lot of the time she has me play the mini games for her, and they need to just make a collection of all the Yakuza mini games, like not just like the claw machines and all that, but like the business ventures. If you're listening, I want to do a business. You will know what I'm talking about when you hear that.
Right, exactly.
I'm doing a business.
Doing a business.
Not the business I do in the bathroom. That's me time. But yeah, that one's looking good. There's also Yakuza 8. Well, because Like a Dragon is the Yakuza series going forward. They're dropping the Yakuza name, and they're just going to be called Like a Dragon. So I know there's one that's an actual sequel to the series, and there's another one coming up that I don't remember the name of off the top of my head, but it's a spin-off set in like feudal Japan, but with all the characters from the prior Yakuza games filling in the roles of actual historical figures from feudal Japan. And obviously it's not 100% accurate, because if you've ever played any of the Yakuza games, they're insane, but in a good way.
Right.
So it's kind of their own spin on it. It's going to be new here in the West, but it is not a new series in general. The last couple in the spin-off series have came out in Japan, but from where they are very, very heavily ingrained in Japanese culture. They didn't want to bring it stateside because they thought that, a lot of the references and history would be stuff that would be lost on Western audiences. But now, seeing how popular the series is, they're finally going to bring, the new one over. Which is going to be nice. It's going to be nice. Because you and I both have always been very interested in Japanese culture. You've actually been there a couple times, bastard. So it's going to be nice to get a another Yakuza spinoff series.
Yeah. I have not actually played the games, but again, I've seen it played at your house. It looked fun, interesting. It's an RPG style game, which
well, the new one is anyway.
Right, the new one is, which I anyway. But 2023 is going to have itself a pretty big slate of games. There's a whole ton of them that we haven't listed off here. So there's a sequel to Ark, kind of the very popular MMO, like resource gathering MMO.
Survival. Yep.
Yeah, survival. We're going to see. There's a new Aliens game coming out, Aliens: Dark Descent, which I'm very interested in. I think it's going to be cool. There's going to be, I think, a beta for a new Starship Troopers that's going to come out. It's a 12-person. It's a 12-person co-op game that's not competitive co-op, but it's kind of like the old Fire Team mode from, if you remember. Halo, ODST and stuff like that. They had the fire team mode where it was you versus I, and that's really that's what it's gonna be. But it's also kind of a almost like a tower defense type game. I mean, obviously the whole kind of the mythos behind starting swarmed by giant intergalactic insects. So it really is kind of a tower defense game. But it looks really interesting.
Yeah, it's again, that's another one that's a property that I didn't expect to see a new game for, but we're getting in it. It looks interesting.
I mean, 2 Paul Verhoeven properties coming.
There you go.
Interesting.
Maybe they're just trying to keep the rights to him.
Maybe, I don't know. And then we're also going to see Dune Spice Wars, which is going to be its own MMO game, which I was not expecting.
Neither was I, but that's what I'm keeping my eye on. I'm not hyped about it yet, but I'm keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of much of the same. I just kind of
But
then there's going to be some other stuff that comes out next year. Maybe we'll see some expansions to existing franchises. Again, we're going to see a rise to Game Pass, so that'll be see a kind of your distribution. Not aware of an official date, but there is the Cyberpunk 2077 DLC that's going to be coming out,
starring Idris Elba.
Yes, two tour de force people, Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves, in a property together. So
it'd be interesting.
I'd actually kind of like to see that on the big screen too.
Right? Oh, absolutely. I don't think they've been in any films together.
John Wick 5.
I haven't seen beyond John Wick 1. All right, I'm slacking.
5. There is no 5.
Oh,
4 is set to come out next year.
That shows you how much I pay attention, dude.
You really need to watch those movies.
Everybody tells me that, and I just never get around to it.
Right. There is also the next Assassin's Creed that comes out next year, Assassin's Creed Mirage. And we will actually, there's a few Assassin's Creed titles. I think Mirage is one of the bigger ones, and then there's a couple of offshoot side. We're also going to see Baldur's Gate 3 come out.
Which that's one I'm also keeping an eye on, just because I liked the original Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate. I never played the second one, but I love the original.
Yeah, and the redo of Baldur's Gate that came out last year was very popular, and from what I've heard, it was very well done. So.
Yeah, I never got a chance to play that one, surprise, but I talked to a lot of people that did, and they all said no, it's pretty good. So
then also for you fans of kind of the mecha genre, Front Mission 2 remake comes to Switch. This was actually a game, if I remember correctly, was not released in the United States. It never made it over to us. So this is the first time Front Mission 2 is going to see U.S. soil translated.
It was either the second or third one was the one that never came stateside.
It wasn't the third one because I played the third one on PS2.
There you go.
Second. Yeah, so quite a lot coming out. And again, there's a whole slew of other games that are on the list. Payday 3, apparently.
Oh, yeah, because I'm like, wait, 3 is that? No, I'm thinking Payday 2. Which, I mean, that one was very popular for a long time, and there's still a lot of dedicated players on that one. But, I mean, that's one that it kind of had some staying power to it.
We'll also see Pikmin 4.
Yeah.
I'd kind of forgotten about that, so...
Well, I mean, that's one of those franchises that, like, I'll pick them up and play them. It's never a day one, but I'll because they're fun. They're fun and cute. That's a nice, relaxing game.
I see what they need to do for fun. Make another Katamari Damacy.
Yes, they do. They absolutely, and not another mobile game. I want a full-on console game. Damn it. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I think.
Anyway, so yeah, we've covered quite a lot of games so far. I could probably go another hour just going through the list of stuff that's slated to come out. It's not even covering a lot of the DLC. So,
Right.
You know, yeah, we're very much looking forward to 2023. It's gonna
And
be a
not
big
playing
year for
any of the
gaming.
games that come out.
Correct. It's going to be a big year for gaming. It's going to be a big year for movies and media, various other franchises, which we haven't even talked about.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully it'll be a big year for us here at the Non.
Woo! That's us.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think we're probably good to wrap up at this point.
Think so.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is actually going to do it for us here for 2022.
Mm-hmm.
We will be going on our winter break here as the holidays kind of up our recording schedule.
Yep.
You know, have been that time.
Family. You.
See people.
Sometimes there's food.
Sometimes there's food. I mean, half the time I wind up having to cook it myself, though. So it's not.
That's true. Don't worry, I'll eat extra for you.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. So yeah, I think I'll go ahead and do it for us for not only tonight but this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we very much look forward to speaking with you again next year. Thank you for joining us so far. We welcome you back. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Happy Cat 3.
That we will.
So as always, use us on FM, which is Spotify. Find us on all of our social forums, Non Sequitur Nerds, Facebook.com/Non Sequitur Nerds. Sorry, I was going to say Twitter. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think we're on Twitter anymore.
Yeah. No. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, and twitch.tv/Non Sequitur, and then all the other.
We're on pretty much all of them now.
Yep. So, alrighty. Well, again, thank you. Have a wonderful year. And see you next for the Non Sequitur Nerds. Signing off for 2, Ian.
And I'm Tim. Bye, everybody.